Have you ever thought of buying a franchise or currently own one or many? If so, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria, the podcast created and hosted by franchise attorney Josh Brown for the sole purpose of helping people find success through franchising.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Franchise Euphoria, where we provide strategy, education, and consulting for the franchise community. Josh Brown here, back again with a tip of the day. And I was thinking long and hard as to what tip can I provide that is something I get asked about a lot, where people consistently say, hey, what about this? And the first thing that came to mind was location. I get asked about, well, what's a great location for this franchise, or where are the best franchises located? And location is such a vital part of having a successful franchise business. So I've really narrowed it down to the top 4 things you need to consider when picking a location. And so that's going to be the tip for the day. Well, to start off, the first thing that you really need to consider when you are selecting a location for your franchise is demographics. You have to understand the demographics of who your target market is, and then match that up with the demographics of the location in which you're looking to put your franchise. It's the who, what, when, where, and why of demographics. Who are the people who you're trying to attract to your space? What do they do? When would they be likely to come? Where are they located? And why are they coming to your business? So if you can figure out and have a crystal clear picture of the demographics of your ideal target market, and then match that up with the demographics of a location, that is going to be absolutely vital. A lot of times what I find is people make the mistake, or they short-side the process, where they just try to look for a busy intersection or a busy place. Well, you can have a place that gets 30,000 cars that comes by in a day, but if it's nobody who's going to stop in your store, who cares? It doesn't matter. So you have to match up the demographics of your target market, your target client, with the right location demographics. Number 2, you really need to think about your competitors. I mean, there's really no accident why everywhere you see a Walgreens, you see a CVS across the street. And it seems like nowadays they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you see the latest Walgreens, it almost looks like a huge grocery store. And then you see a CVS that comes in across the street that's even bigger. And they're really strategically going across from each other in each and every market. I'm not saying it's necessary to always do that, but if you're close by to your competitors, I think there's a strategic advantage there, because it's easier to keep an eye on what they're doing. And let's face it, I mean, a big part of being successful in any business is understanding who your competitors are. It's like Mark Cuban likes to say, that you have to operate your business as if your competitors are trying to kick your ass 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they are. And so the best locations are often factored in, at least in part, on how close am I to my competitors. Number 3 is the lease terms. I mean, on a very practical level, you need to understand what kind of lease you're going to have to tie into depending on a location. And in part for that, part of the strategy on that front is making sure that you have good professional assistants to really help you through lease negotiations, because oftentimes you can negotiate quite a bit on a lease term. But you need to kind of weigh those options. You need to weigh how long you're tied into the lease, what the parameters are, what sort of the cost is, and how much of the maintenance fees and management expenses and all the other sorts of things that go into leases are going to be factored into your lease, and really take the time to figure out if that's going to be an advantageous thing for your franchise. And last but certainly not least is accessibility. You really need to find a location that is accessible for people who are driving by or coming by. I mean, it sounds so commonsensical, but I remember as an example here in my town, there was this phenomenal ice cream franchise that, I mean, had the premium ice cream, the best ice cream that me and my family had ever had. And most people who went there agreed that it had the best ice cream. And it was in this location right off of an intersection of two major highways. And so the traffic counts were incredibly high. All the other metrics were met. The problem was it was hard to physically get to the location, if that makes sense. You know, the way in which you had to navigate it was kind of in an area where there were two sizable strip malls. And so you could visually see it very, very well from the highway, but actually getting back to the location was pretty difficult. And it was really kind of a pain in the butt. I mean, you had to go an exact certain way. You had to go through various parking lots to get there, and it was just kind of a mess. The long and short of it is that really killed them. I mean, it really took a toll on their business and making it difficult for people to go back there. So you really need to factor in how easy is it for people to get to my location. You know, you have to factor in the size of the parking lot. You have to factor in how crowded the parking lot is. I mean, I know another example is there's a really popular strip mall near my office, and they have quite a few restaurants in there. Well, if you go there for lunch during the week and you get there anytime after 11:30, you literally can't find a place to park. Well, that's a problem. I mean, if you can't park, then you can't go to the location. So you really have to be a little bit strategic about that and have a little bit of foresight, and asking your potential landlord, asking the strip center that you're about to go into, you know, what sort of plans they have for the future, you know, what kind of other tenants they're looking for, because if they're looking to bring in other tenants are going to have high volumes of traffic, that's going to play a big, important factor into your location. So hopefully this helps you. Quick recap. I mean, when you're thinking about location, I know it can be very, very overwhelming, but if you just think about demographics, if you think about competitors, if you think about the lease terms, and you think about the accessibility, those are really the four main things that you need to think about. And if you can nail those, you can be pretty confident that you are in a good location. So that's it for the day. Hopefully this was helpful, and you can look forward to an interview coming up this Thursday. And until then, happy franchising.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.